How's it going, everybody? Welcome on in to This Is America. This is America Takeover. I'm your chairman, Robert Slater of the Culture Commission Coalition, and I'm invading Dr. Chris Johnson's show and Miss Laquila Shuntel, who couldn't be with us this evening because she's out of the country. And Dr. Johnson is here with us, but he's going to be in avatar mode because he's also doing dual coverage of a congressional debate that is going on today in Acres Homes in Houston, Texas, for congressional 18 candidates. So he is doing double work, double duty down a co-host. So your favorite guy, that's your favorite guy, is joining us as well. Dr. Johnson, you with us?
But Chairman Slater, first, thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for joining us on today. I know we're going to have a lot to talk about with you regarding your time at the CBC on last week. I know you
yes.
have some great updates and insights that you're going to share. Again, to our viewing audience, welcome to This Is America, which is hosted by Laquila Shuntel, who is not with us on today. And I am your co-host, Reverend Dr. Christopher Johnson. We're going to dive into the deep issues or the deep urgent issues that are surrounding multiple issues in our world today. First, we're going to look at the president's siege on U.S. military leaders and the alarming assault on American veterans. We're going to
Yes.
be joined by Miss Angelina Cortez, who is a United States veteran, who's going to be sharing her story of trial, tragedy, and ultimately triumph. And also this week, we're going to be talking with our very own chairman, Rob Slater. He was at the Congressional Black Caucus on last week, and he has a lot of great news and updates and insights that he's going to want to share with us. But we want to make sure that we don't belabor or take up any time. Our first guest is a extremely special guest. She is an accomplished actress, but
Yeah.
also a decorated military veteran. We are joined by the very honorable Miss Angelina Cortez. Miss Cortez, welcome to This Is America. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show tonight.
Well, thank you so very much, gentlemen, for having me. This is a great honor. I'm so glad to be here and to also to reconnect with Rob Slater. What a tiger that guy is! He's going to be amazing in Congress.
Oh, you talking about that
Absolutely.
tiger behind me right now?
I
Nah,
have the
thank you.
same tiger in my office. To be honest, is right
Right.
behind me.
I love it, love it, love it, love it. Thank you, though. It was a pleasure meeting you in DC, and thank you for joining us this evening. We can't wait to hear more about what you have going on and what you're going through and how you're going to overcome it. So, yeah, absolutely, it's a pleasure.
So, Miss Cortez, tell us a little bit about yourself. You are well. Most people know you if they are on social media or other streaming platforms. They know you from your work in entertainment as an actress of various genres. But share with us a little bit about your background, who you are, and your time in military service with our country.
Sure. So my name is Angelina Maria Cortez. I was born and raised in New York, born in Manhattan, raised in the Queens and the Bronx. And at about the age of 13, my mother was like, you know what? I need to get you out of this city because crack was on a rampage. Okay. And so she was like, I'm getting you out of here. So my mother joined the military at 33 years old, which is the oldest age that they will accept. And she was like, I'm doing this for you. And so immediately that took me over to Germany. And then I was bit. I was like, you know what? I think this would be a great path for me going forward because college didn't seem like something that I wanted to do. I didn't really enjoy the educational system. I was just like, yeah, what is this that I'm learning and what is the point? And so that just didn't work for me. So to be honest, I was a C student, right? Which everyone knows that a C student generally equates to an entrepreneur. So all those things began to make sense later on in life. But from there, I graduated high school in Fort Carson, Colorado. Went delayed entry program. So what I did was while I was still in high school, a senior in January of 92, I went ahead and joined the Army. Once I graduated, 2 weeks later, I was off to basic training, which was phenomenal. I really enjoyed my time in the military. At some point thereafter, overseas, I was in a car accident. Well, actually, it was a truck accident with a 5-ton, and my back was injured. And then just went through like a series of some really interesting things while I was in the military. Got to see how different people from different backgrounds were treated, and it really started to open my eyes to what this world was about, right? Because being from New York, you have all these different people from different cultures, but to be in the military, I think my mind was that everybody is equal, right? If we're here serving the country, but I found out that is not the case. And so my eyes began to open. Years later, I think I spent like 2 years in the Army. I said, okay, you know what? This is great, but I'm not really cut out for getting up every day and going to work in this structured capacity. It was great, but I think also at that time, having the injury to my back it was more than I could deal with. So I was like, it's my time to get out. I moved on immediately, kind of got snatched up into modeling. Worked with Versace, did a lot of print work. And from there, the entrepreneurial bug bit me, and I've owned several businesses over the years. But it wasn't until 2002 when I moved to Atlanta that I said I was going to do everything that I had not done, whatever that meant. But the first thing was me seeking the Lord and asking him, what did he want from me? Because it wasn't enough just to be popular and to be known, right? It's important that purpose come forth. And so I was tired of partying and all that stuff. I was like, I'm tired. And so, the Lord gave me this idea, May 16, 2003, which was to begin to create amenities for the hospitality industry. And the rest is history.
Awesome.
So thank you for that, Miss Cortez. And I loved how you just brushed over. I just did some work with Versace, yada yada yada. That's a huge that's a huge accomplishment, especially being a minority, and a person of color in this country. The fashion industry is very hard to break into, especially when you're doing model work, runway work, print work, and so you've it appears as if you've always been a person who's always set the tone and broken the glass ceiling, so to speak.
Well, let me just say this. It was very difficult. And I think that's why I didn't really pursue, jobs came to me. So I was grateful for that, but I wasn't enamored with the industry. And I believe so because I'm just not a person who idolizes people. So I'm like, if it's not a purpose, I'm here. I'm cool. Like, it's great that God made you beautiful, and now what? And so,
Right.
there has to be that internal growth. But I think the thing was also being Black and Puerto Rican, they didn't know where to put me because we're talking about 94 when you had the Kate
Sure.
Mosses, right? And they were these super, almost androgynous looking
Yes.
Caucasian women and Middle Eastern women or Russian, wherever they came from, right? That were
Yeah.
more Miss 6 o'clock. And they were like, you're just so, you got this and all that. And now it's great, right? But back then they were like, no, we don't even know what to do with all that. So it was interesting. And I'm glad for that because as I grew in this industry, I came to see what really happens behind closed doors, right? And that wouldn't have worked for me anyway, because I'm not a follower.
Right. So let's talk about as you transition out of that career into military service. Talk about that journey and where that journey took you in terms of your entrepreneurship, particularly in the area of real estate.
Oh, well, goodness. I think at that time when I really got into figuring out what it is that I wanted to do, I lived in New Orleans and I opened a commercial debt recovery firm because I was just good at it. I mean, there's really not, I just have a gift where if I want to do something, I'm going to be the best at it regardless. I'm going to go at it. So I met clients, they were like, yeah, we'll give you the business. So within getting my first $500,000 investment from a friend, he was like, just go for it. Then that was great, but it really wasn't. I realized I made a job for myself. I was like, what the hell did I do? So I was like, I don't want to have to come to this office every day. I don't care if it's my office or someone else's. And so that serial entrepreneurship just kind of led me down the road to relocating to Atlanta simply because my business was robbed and my house flooded all within like 2 weeks of it of itself. Right. So I'm like, you know what? God is trying to tell me something. So I moved to Atlanta. And I was just like, well, what am I going to do while I'm here? And the walk of faith was so radical. It was so radical. I was just like, okay, I guess I'll go to church. Thank God he connected me with Mace, who was a pastor and still a pastor at this time. And so I got all my basic training in learning how to pray in my heavenly language and reading the word and all these other things, and tithing, which I thought was very important. But most immediately, it wasn't even 6 months into really wanting to learn the word that the Lord was like, write this down. And that's the business that I'm operating in today. So I said, if it takes me 20 years for this to be successful, I'll be glad that I got started now. So that was May 16th, 2003. And it is now 2025. So I don't know if I prophesied that much time frame on myself, but either way, it's been well worth it because real estate is super important. I bought 4 properties. One of them went into foreclosure. I learned a big deal about that. The property had so many problems. Like, it was my first one that I bought. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know. The person saw a patsy coming. Okay. He was like, sell her this house. And so I got to bump my head on that. So then I bought a couple more properties, which are townhouses located in Clayton County, Georgia. And that's kind of where my legal issues began, because I started to research, like, what are mortgages? What is a quiet title? Like, what are all these things beyond just purchasing this property? And
Right.
and it's great because I have renters and they depend on me to be knowledgeable and to be able to protect them in the place that they're living.
Sure. 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 So as you are acquiring and building your real estate portfolio, of course, one of the things, or one of the benefits of being a veteran is that that opens you, or makes you eligible for certain benefits that you earned because of your military time. Correct?
That is correct. And you know what's wonderful about that VA benefit is that generally your credit score doesn't need to be in the sevens. Right now, they're even accepting people with like as low as 520 credit scores, right? To buy homes. But the only thing out of pocket is $1,000, right? And that was only to the builder. But other than that, there's no PMI, there's no mortgage insurance, there's no down payment that's required. So it's very easy for a veteran to get into a property as long as they can make sure that their credit score is somewhere within the parameters in which the lender is offering. And then number two, that they can prove that they have the income to be able to afford the property.
And so that particular earned benefit uh, served as a, I don't want to say a catalyst, but served as a major component of, or a building block for you to be able to start building your real estate portfolio. Correct?
Oh, absolutely. Because where else can you buy, $400,000 in property, right? That immediately become revenue generating without any money out of your pocket, right? So that it's super important that veterans understand that they've got to make money outside of just their retirement, right? Because inflation is going up, and so they having being able to utilize that and have a primary place to live, and still using your VA benefit of buying another property. You can buy more than one, and I don't think many veterans know that, but you can buy more than one property and rent one out. Absolutely.
Sure, sure, sure. So let's transition to what's going on there in Atlanta in terms of your particular your particular formal notice and certificate. Um, you have asked officials there in Clayton County, Georgia, to conduct an ongoing investigation into criminal theft and corruption. Um, let's talk about this. What are you charging that uh, officials have allegedly uh, stolen or corrupted?
Okay, so because the properties are located in Clayton County, it was 2017, just to give you a little backstory. And it came to my mind that I should look into quiet titles. And I wasn't quite sure what that meant, because this type of information is not um, just for easy consumption by the general public, but it's listed as one of the services that the court will provide in terms of hearing and whatever it takes for them to do a quiet title on a property, which means that you're the owner, and no one else is, right? So that's just lay terms there. So what I did was I started to talk with a good friend of mine, and I said, listen, I feel led to pursue this quiet title on both of my properties.
Right.
We did extensive, I'm talking about probably 10,000 plus hours of research on what are the prerequisites, what needs to be done, what has to be done first, second, third. And none of this information was easily found, right? So it was a lot of digging. But we found that we did a revocation modification of deed. We gave notice to all of the parties. And then, of course, we filed the case in the Clayton County Superior Court. Well, their response was that they were going to do a foreclosure. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean a foreclosure? Because when you do a quiet title, once you do a revocation modification of deed, just in lay terms, there are two titles that get split at closing, equitable and legal title. And so because when you find out that mortgages are very rare in the state of Georgia, that really is a third party investment contract. That's what I signed up for. I thought it was a mortgage, but lo and behold, it was not. And so what they did was they conveyed the property back to Clayton County at closing, which most people don't even know that that happens. They just think I have the house, I pay my note, this is my property. Oh, but it is not. And so as I began to think, as soon as I'm done with this, the judge is going to see it. I'm going to have my hearing. I'm going to be able to prove my case and have my quiet title. Well, that was not the case. The case was given to Geronda Carter, who is a Superior Court judge in Clayton County, who is also a very astute constitutional lawyer. So she understands exactly what was in our case. And what did she do? She immediately, they stalled for about a year and a half. And then they were like, we're going to do a foreclosure. I'm like, how are you going to do a foreclosure? I have a quiet title pending here. So the mortgage company then hires McCallow Raymer, Drew Powers, and Greg Crevo. And they put in, they claim that they sold my property to some third party named A Plus LLC. Lowell Chatham, a local lawyer, and David Foch, who's allegedly the principal of A Plus. And I'm like, how is it that you think you can sell something when I've merged titles and it's already in the books, file stamped in the books in Clayton County? All of that is in the case. So now I have the quiet title in Superior Court, and here they are talking about a foreclosure in magistrate. I'm like, but magistrate does not have jurisdiction to litigate land cases according to the 1983 Georgia Constitution. Well, Keisha Wright Hill, who happens to be the chief administrative law clerk for the magistrate court, she starts talking to Geronda. Geronda sends me a letter and says, oh, they were never served, so I'm dismissing your case. I'm like, wait a minute. Yes, they were. So when I got that letter, I immediately ran over to Cobb County and got a certificate of review. Of course, I put that with an affidavit from the Cobb County sheriff. And he says, I swear upon penalty of perjury that I absolutely served A plus. Well, then Geronda doesn't move forward with anything. Several months later, she then allows them to put a counterclaim into the Superior Court saying that there's a counterclaim. I'm like, they only had 30 days. Now, if that was me, trust me, case would have been closed and over and done. Let that be you. Over and done. You have 30 days to answer. And of course, acquiescence is agreement. So technically, she should have ruled in my favor. But she didn't do that. What she elected to do was to create ex parte communication within her chambers, because she received that that counterclaim in her office, and she file stamped it, so it has her name up in the upper right corner of that document, which goes to show, that she's inviting these lawyers that she's cool with to come into her office and have conversation about what they're going to do about my land. Unbelievable. Which is utterly illegal, right? So violating my Fourth Amendment rights. So what they do is they wait and wait and wait. Maybe a year later, I call in for something, and I find out, oh, there's a writ of possession on your property. What do you mean a writ of possession? I have a quiet title pending in the Superior Court. Magistrate should be doing nothing. There's a lis pendens. They don't care about that. So finally, I'm emailing everybody. The Attorney General, Wright Banks, he's the Deputy Attorney General. I'm putting a bunch of people on the email. I'm like, what are we doing here? I have a case that's not yet been heard, and yet the lower court thinks that they can litigate a land case. Absolutely ridiculous. So what does Geronda do? Geronda, I've asked for TROs, temporary restraining orders. She does nothing. A+ LLC, under the supervision of Lowell Chatham, a Georgia lawyer, who is a scuzzbucket, the way that I feel about the guy, allegedly sold the property while we're pending appeal. So now they sell the property and come and put me out of the property. So first they came and put me out first, September 8th, and then in December claims that they sold the property. Now, Village Capital, which is Dovemule Mortgage, which is a huge VA approved lender, huge. I think they've on the books in Georgia since 1969 or so. I could be off by a year or so, but since 1969. And so they've been doing these VA loans for veterans. What do? They just do a circular transfer. Now, they don't think that I could ever know this, but unbeknownst to them, since I lived in that property, the USPS tells you when mail is coming. And so I see my mail that's coming there. And I can see that Village Capital is now the mortgage lender for the new veterans that are in that bill, that are living in my property. So A+, which is an affiliate, right? None of the things that I'm saying are foreign to those lawyers that operate in the real estate space, nor is what I'm saying foreign to Geronda Carter. Neither is it for Judge Mack, who's the Superior Court Chief Judge, nor is it to Aaron Mason, who recused himself from the case. Shayna Rooks Malone, who also then recused herself from the case. And might I say, Geronda Carter, after she pulled that little stunt, recused herself from the case. But what she did was she put the magistrate's head on a chopping block, because what she did with that writ of possession was it did not have signature nor seal. That means the sheriff should have never come to my home. And in fact, it had the wrong address on it. But they came there under the protection of what Geronda and Keisha Wright Hill allowed them to do. So Keisha didn't know that I could understand that you have to have a signature and seal from the clerk of court. It can't just come from a magistrate judge. So 2 years, I've been emailing Lavon Allen, who's also ex-military. I believe he's ex-Army. I've been emailing him, sending him letters, certified mail return receipt, went to his office. He would not respond, would not do anything, although he's the highest ranking constitutional officer within the county, right? He has more power than the magistrate judge. So finally, maybe a month ago, I go up there and I knock on his door, because I'm like, I've already done what I'm going to do. I'm moving forward with going with the FBI, since you think you're going to take my stuff and just tell me to go sit down somewhere, which is not going to happen. I have all my proof, 384 pages. These people have one document in the entire file. Unbelievable. And so I go to his office. The lady that's there, his secretary, is like, he's busy. Okay, yeah, I get that. So we go back to the window. under her supervision. Well, lo and behold, the sheriff walks up, and I press record on my phone. And my associate is then explaining to him that just the same things that I've just explained to you, and pointing out that the writ of possession lacks signature or seal, so that it's void on its face. And the sheriff is like, wow, okay. Okay. I said, I've been calling you and emailing you for 2 years. No response. And he said, well, what's your email address? And he opens up his phone, and I'm recording, and there's all my emails. He never even opened them. Never opened them. Now, mind you, the last sheriff, now I'm not saying anything about Levon Allen, because he may wind up being a great fellow who upholds the oath of his office. But the last sheriff, Victor Hill, he's in federal prison. He might be out by now, because, in Clayton County, because they don't have constituent services at the governor's office, these people, especially because they're Black people, okay, are over here doing all manners of wickedness. And because Clayton County happens to be 73% minority, and then a great amount of them happen to be veterans and service disabled veterans. And I know
And
this.
Ms. Cortez, I wanted to, I want to make sure that we didn't run roughshod over what you just said, that, this is all happening with majority African Americans in position of power.
Every one of them.
Because I think when we hear a story like this, the knee-jerk reaction would be, oh, this has to be someone of a different ethnicity or culture.
Oh.
But this abuse of power is being carried out apparently by our very own Chairman Slater. Did you have anything you want to weigh in on this?
First and foremost, I don't even know where to start. I'm beyond impressed. I've learned so much. I just went to law school. I just went to Judge Judy. I just went to court. I just went to the Supreme Court. I've been everywhere. I just learned so much. Hell, I just learned what 6 o'clock mean in the figure of a model and the visual for six. Like I just learned. I'm just over here flabbergasted.
You knew that from Ice
But
Cube.
I did it. That was a new twist. But there's this old saying, that there was a guy and a son in a car accident, and they rushed him to the hospital, and the doctors came in, and one of the doctors said, I can't work on this patient because he's my husband. And when that joke was around from the 80s and 90s, people would try to guess on who this person was. Never did it come into mind that it was the wife, the mother, because the ignorant assumption is that a woman couldn't be a doctor per se back then. So I say it to say is that in these stories, and I hate to say it in this misogynistic era in this nation that we're in, when we just saw a president of the United States and an ignorant, sorry excuse of a Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Fox News, Secretary of War, whatever the hell he want to call himself, call all the sitting generals and admirals to Quantico to tell them about rolling back the standards of the military to that of a male. It's the most blatant, disrespectful thing to me in humankind, women's rights, human rights, so on and so forth. And yet alone taking away the minority part aspect. But we have here Miss Cortez, and if I may say, not only a minority and a veteran, but a woman. And I want to call out the double standard that had she been a man on paper in the name, there's a good chance that none of this would not be happening. It's that ignorance, once again, that a woman could not be as intelligent, smart, have the wherewithal to investigate, and have that spirit of FAFO, if you will, to hold her on. And so what we just witnessed was someone who done the work, who understood, called off the names, really just cooked the whole case and the situation, and was able to articulate and explain it in a way that resonates across the field. And so let's put the woman part aside and the minority. We're talking about a veteran, someone that has paid the ultimate price by fighting and serving for this country, not just her, as well as her family and loved ones. And as a country, we have to do better, and especially for starting with the commander in chief, our financial institutions, our lending institutions, and our housing authority, including our governors and counties and so on and so forth. So to have 70-something% of a minority county and to have this happening, it rings true that right here in Harris County, Dr. Johnson, as you very well may know, and I think you got some further shows that's talking about this. We're dealing with land stealing left and right from officials. We are representing at the Culture Commission several cases. Miss Jan Grant, for instance, just calling her out to where she lost some properties into trust that was given to her as an heir from her father, and the deacon of his own church, who is now a county judge or something, stole her property. We're looking at Harris County District Attorney's Office, where commissioners, courts, and attorneys allegedly just rapidly was allowing properties that sit longer than 30 days or 45 days just be taken with these fake deeds that's been happening. I mean, you have a property that your mother left to you. If the probate court system don't take it, and let's, Lord forbid, you go out of town, you come back 45 days later, there's a gas station on your property, and it's too late to even get it back. And so ultimately, as minorities in this country, the last sense of the most generational foundational wealth we have is land. That is the bedrock of this country, of this Constitution. And so if you don't educate yourself and know and just have that assumption, oh, I own this land, and you don't have it in a trust, you don't have these things protected and enshrined, or at least educate yourself on the laws, your local laws pertaining to protecting it and preventing it, then we're in trouble. And so I can only imagine so many people that don't have the mindset and the fire as this incredible warrior does, our veterans, our elderly, that get lost and discouraged by all of the paperwork and the back and forth, that can't catch a bus or have transportation to go to the offices, go to the county. And so this game of three-card Molly that these suckers play is really just wait and wait and see. And so they're so audacious now that they assume that you're not going to fight it. So they move forward with court proceedings and just signing it because you're not going to even fight back. And that's a slap in the face on top of the slap they already giving you, to think that we're going to take this land, you're going to take it, and you're not even going to fight back. Well, this is America. And we have to start not only fighting back, but taking stories like Miss Cortez, spreading the word, and then turning around and educating all of our constituents to give basic free resources and educate them on the how-to. And that's what we do at the Culture Commission. And we're trying to figure out how can we represent Miss Cortez and bring her case, such as this platform, Dr. Johnson, and make it visible and viable, but also take this as a lesson to others that they can learn from and prevent their property. And so I'm just taken aback on the audacity that they're not only doing this to the classes that we are supposed to protect, our minorities, our women, but also our veterans. And it's happening across the board. And so thank you, Ms. Cortez, for all that you have done, all that you're doing, because so many others are going to be able to take this, tune in, and further even more, and furthermore, use it as, you know, what they're going through in their life and learn a valuable lesson. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, because I can tell you, I never imagined. I was like so excited, like I'm going to get my day in court. I'm going to prove this and that and the other. And that was not the case. It's actually the administrative law clerks, because they're not even judges, right? They're operating in statutes and codes and violating the Fourth Amendment rights of the people who live within the county, which is the primary reason why and how we met in DC, right? Because my intent is to run it up the chain with the FBI, the CIA, the VAOIG, and as many other oversight committees as I possibly can, and clearly maybe I need to just be the voice for those who don't understand exactly what's taking place. But I'm ready to go, because I'm not gonna do what Judge Mack, he's like, basically sit down and shut the hell up and don't put anything else in this case. I'm just not that chick, boo. I'm about to see about it.
And Dr. Johnson, the crazy part is that when I heard Miss Cortez's story, and I met her in Atlanta briefly, and in DC recently, and was listening. You know how we do, and in our efforts and bids for this congressional race, when we win and we get to Congress, we're taking not just stories, but individuals like Miss Cortez directly into those tables of the oversight, and have come up with some acts and some bills and some laws to prevent this for others. And so this is a freedom fighter issue, the new Rosa Parks issue, because where it was the bus, we have to sit still on our land, and they no longer tell us that we can't sit up in the front on some property that we own. And so this is a very, very serious issue that do not get a lot of attention. Do not get a lot of attention. And so many people are losing their homes in probate, they're losing in airship, misunderstanding. And then we as a community and minorities, we have to figure it out and get it going. And let me ask you this real quick, Ms. Cortez. This property that's in question, is this one of the properties that was purchased with one of your VA benefits?
Oh, Mr. Slater, you are just so awesome. I love how you cue me up. So let me explain. Yes, it actually is. And what happens is, and I don't want to talk too high level, but I'll just bring it, right about here as I've learned it and able to communicate it in lay terms. When a merger happens, right? And this is in the Georgia Constitution, right? And in their statutes, when a merger happens where legal and equitable title happen to be merged, it says that any debt attached to that land is then extinguished, right? So extinguished means done away with, gone, and goodbye. So what does Mule Mortgage do? What does Freedom Mortgage do? They run over, excuse me one second, and I had to sneeze. Okay. They run over to the VA and they file supplemental claims for insurance when they did not have the right to do that. They didn't. So they literally stole $36,000 a piece. And I guess they thought that I didn't know that. So what they did was they claimed there's a foreclosure, although there is no foreclosure. It does not predate the merger, which is already on the county books. Right. But the judge is trying to see everything except what's there. She won't give me the hearing. Right. So they went in and they literally lied to the VA and got money that they were not supposed to. And yet one of them is still putting that on my credit report, stating that I owe them $24,000. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. So one, not only did you go and get what you were not supposed to by law, but number two, you're then reporting it on my credit report when you've already been allegedly made whole from the fraudulent, funds that you've stolen. So that's kind of what the situation is looking like.
Yeah. And that again, I'm not a lawyer, said all the time. I'm just a businessman, and I think I have some common damn sense. Um, Identity fraud, identity theft, whatever the case may be. I think also from a solution standpoint, and Dr. Johnson, you could chime in if you like on this. At the end of the day, our taxpayer dollars that support our troops and our veterans and that supplement these benefits and support them to have the housing and have these opportunities are American tax dollars. Am I wrong or too far, Dr. Johnson, out of line to assume to say that, okay, shouldn't it be that for whatever reason, if even though it's a private lender that purchased the house for this veteran, there is some benefits that the taxpayer dollars contribute to that purchase, that if there's a default or foreclosure, shouldn't there be some type of mechanisms in place to where that property goes back before the VA or go back to the government for some type of something before it just gets sucked into the private sector and resold? Does that make sense? Dr. Johnson, you there? Or Ms. Cortez, does that make sense?
Well, let me tell you what I get out of that because of what I know and my experience. So first of all, because they convey the property to the county, right? The county, in essence, legally owns the property. The person that's living there believes that they own the property. They don't own anything because what they essentially signed was a third-party investment contract. So in the state of Georgia, mortgages are exceedingly rare. They dress it up as such, but it does not exist because this is the same reason why if you're behind, let's say $5 or $5,000 on your property tax, the county can come and take your property. Why? Because they actually own it. And the closing attorney is the one who actually creates that fraud behind the scenes. And the person who gets the house, they don't know. They have no idea. And you know what they tell you? Go get a lawyer. Honey, you know what they'll tell you? Well, this is landlord-tenant issue, but it's not. But you can't even get the help. So there's a lot of fraud going on and things are dressed up and being promoted as X, and it's not even that. But now that we've pulled those back, the bottom line is the original in Georgia, when there's so-called foreclosure, All they do is a circular transfer. If Mule Mortgage sent in their affiliate A plus claims they bought it, but can't get a confirmation of sale, can't get, there's no any of that. And then all they do is go behind their back and here you are, Mule, and give them back the paperwork. That's it. There's really no one buys anything. No one comes in and buys your property. Oh, we sold it. They didn't damn sell it. It's the same mortgage lender, because in Georgia, not too technical, there happens that title is not passed with alleged administrative foreclosure. But once again, there can't be a foreclosure if there's already been a merger. And the reason why Geronda and the rest of them do not want to litigate or hear my case is because they do not want me to make any level of case law. If I make the case law, you know what I'm saying, then everybody's coming behind me like, hey, I'm going to do the same thing. And then they don't want people to own their properties outright. They still want to be able to have control of that and play this same game and rotate people in and out of those properties over and over and over, and a lot in Clayton County.
So if you're stuck, let's say in the court system, they're saying go get an attorney. When you say that you've reached out to the OIG office and so on and so forth, has there been any level of discovery to look and see what A plus, if they purchase or not, like a chain of custody or anything like that? Has any of that been exhausted?
Well, let me just say this: everything that's in the court system, they have one document in the entire file because the judge is blocking for them. Right? They say judges don't make case law, but yes, they do. They'll sit in there and lie and steal on behalf of their bar constituents day and night. Right? And then when you try to go get a lawyer, they're like, oh, I don't do that because that's landlord tenant. But it's not landlord tenant. It's just that they don't want to give us the remedy. And that's really what the issue is. If I can give you an answer, right, I'd rather let it be shrouded in this so-called mystery than to give you the answer. And that's kind of what we're dealing with. This is the reason why I went to the GBI, because of the collusion that I can prove, which is right there in the documents in my dossier, as well as in the records in the court, right? Everything is there. So when Keisha told me I'm going to call the police and do this and have you, bring you up on harassment charges, I said, sure enough, let me go to the police. So I went to the police and I gave them what I needed to give them. And I said, because this is more than just a simple situation like this, I'm asking for GBI to investigate. So I've not yet gotten any calls back from them. So it's like a waiting game right now. But all of Clayton County, from the commissioners to the judges, as well as even the probate judge and the mayor, everyone knows what's going on. The attorney general, the governor's office, everyone has received notice as of this week. And in fact, those documents, when I was checking USPS, should start being delivered tomorrow.
And just for our viewers, GBI stands for Georgia Bureau of Investigations, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Wow. That's. Have you done any press conferences or spoke to any media about it?
I did send a packet off to the Clayton County Daily News, but coming up to DC was the jump off point for me, because I realized that if anything's going to be done, it has to be done outside of this county. So this is actually the first time that I've spoken with anyone outside of my IG. I do have an IG called Surviving Clayton County, where listen, honey, if I get to run my mouth, I'm going to tell it. I put the picture of the judge. I talk about what they did. Listen, this is the years that we can get on social media and let people know what's going on. So they don't have to like it, but if you can steal, then you can certainly be exposed.
I love it. Surviving Clayton County. And what cities encompasses Clayton County?
Jonesboro, Rex, some portions of Stockbridge, probably some areas of Fayetteville. Yeah.
Wow.
Also Lake Spivey.
So now I'm excited, and Dr. Johnson, I'm scheduling a call with her and our main man, Mr. Benson, who's our strategist, legal guru, and to see how the Culture Commission, like we do in so many other cases, at the very least, could just shore up, some press conferences, some op-eds, and get that word out there. One thing about these elected officials is that, the power of the vote or the threat of it or looking like an ass publicly is the only thing that, try to get them to shake. If they can move in silence like roaches, they will. So we're determined to help Ms. Cortez open up the light and shine a light on this case because it's very important.
And
Our mission
Chairman,
is to make this case law. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
no. I was going to just second what you're saying, Mr. Chairman, in terms of our support, and really want to thank Ms. Cortez for coming on and sharing her story with not only us but our entire listening audience on the World Wide Web. So many times these things happen to people, and they suffer in silence in a silo. And so her courage and her transparency and her candor in sharing her story has just been an inspiration, not only to Chairman Slater and myself, but to all of those who's listening. So thank you so much, our sister, for coming on and just sharing your story with us.
Yeah, and also too, man, because they can't keep a sister down. Also, and some of the things I want to take the time, if you don't mind, Dr. Johnson, quick. Miss Cortez has some cool things that's going on in the nonprofit space. She is a pet proponent and advocate for pets and things like that. So I want to give her the second. Tell us about her operations as Pets to Go initiative and thing that she got going on, and what can people reach out to support. And so, it's always a silver lining to everything. As she fights the good cause, she's still fighting for others. These others have four legs as we speak. So, Ms. Cortez, share us what you have going on in the pet world.
Well, goodness gracious. So since I started with building out these pet amenities, I did that from the perspective of a for-profit company, right? But then as I started to see what was needed within Clayton County, right? I then shifted to a nonprofit status in 2022. And I did that because I recognized that as people were going, and who would think it would be me, right? Who would think it would be me? Certainly not me. When people are getting evicted and foreclosed on, or they're having to, they lose their homes or whatever the case may be, where they are destabilized because of their housing issue. The pets will then, if the person is not home, the sheriff will take them to the kill shelter. So why don't you just kick somebody while they're down and kill their pet? That's crazy business. So the number of foreclosures and evictions have gone up, and so have the number of euthanized animals in Clayton County. And I can tell you that nothing pisses me off more than a bully. I don't like bullies. Why would you kill a cat or a dog? Like, what the hell? Like, there's better ways to do this, right? If you claim you went to the moon, you telling me you can't deal with a few extra pets? Of course we can. And I have that solution. And so what I started to do was, I've been working with local rescues, a lot of people just working from their homes that are like, you know what, I can grab a cat, I can get a dog, I can do this. And so I started to fund their operation by providing them with cash, donations for medical care for certain animals that needed emergency care. And then, of course, equipment, from dog houses to kennels to dog food. We donate over $1,500 per month in dog food to local shelters here in the county, so that people can, they can feel like there's help. And even though it seems like it's slow going, we're on the fast track now, because what I've done since I've partnered with Guest Supply, selling to over 30,000 plus hotels worldwide, to include IHGs, Wyndhams, Hiltons, Marriott's, Park Lane, Les Meridians, you name it, right? So they all enjoy our amenity packs for their guests. The goal for us right now is to raise $4 million and to acquire this property and or build from the ground up and be able to create the country's first pet crisis center. So when people are going through, whether it's veterans going through hospice issues, the Atlanta Regional is here, when people have their service animals and they don't have anyone else to take care of them while they're hospitalized or while they're going through extensive care, someone's evicted, foreclosed on, whatever that may be, we can care for those pets for up to 90 days so that people can get back on their feet and come and get their babies. And I think that's the key to what it is that I learned from this situation with Geronda Carter and Keisha Wright Hill, is that who would think that I would have the presence of mind to want to put that together for someone else and then be that person that had to, one of my dogs, he was a purebred Siberian Husky, blue eye, brown eye, beautiful boy who was homeless, and just came to my office, came to the Pets to Go office and refused to leave. I was like, all right, all right, boy, I'll keep you. He was a special needs dog. He passed away because I didn't have the facility. He was staying in my home. They put me out. It was like, and I couldn't put my renter out, right? And so it was just that, and I have 2 pit bulls and 4 cats, and so it's a very tumultuous time. So I decided to pour all of my energy into this $4 million raise. So on the link that you see here where it says pets2go.pet/shop, what we've done is we have created some amazing discounts for those who love pets, know people who have pets, want to give gifts for Christmas, which we know people go on Amazon and do that every year, every day, birthday gift packs, holiday gift packs from Halloween to Christmas, Valentine's Day, everyday gift packs as well. Snacks through our partners at Lucky's Premium Treats, as well as cleaning supplies from Clean Republic. What we've done is we've provided this shop where people can go and buy these amazing gift packs and other items that they would normally, purchase anyway. And all of that goes toward the building of that $4 million facility.
No, I love it. And Dr. Johnson, when Miss Cortez had told me about that, and she was saying about even a lot of veterans that lose their homes and that are homeless and that transition, and we can only extend our hearts to imagine what that feels like when you are life is life, and
Right.
to have that support and comfort of a pet with you and not being able to take for them. Sometimes, man, some people rather take care of their pets than themselves. I've been there,
Right.
man. Even if I don't eat, my dog is going to eat. And
Right.
so
Right. Right.
it had me thinking, and even though I'm just a congressional candidate for District 29 here in the great state of Texas, my first time saying it to Miss Cortez, as well as everybody that's looking and we're going to share it, is that we've talked with the team and we're going to initiate this matter into our platform when we get to DC and our mental health service packages to make sure we get some federal funding to address this issue. I do believe that if someone can go to jail and be held at capital murder for shooting a service dog for the police, the police dogs have that type of right. All animals should have that same protection and that same value as well. And so sometimes more meaningful to someone that is struggling in doing life. And so in the need of the what a pet means to someone going through something, it is a true crisis. So we want to see what we can help on the federal side to allocate resources to that great cause on behalf of Ms. Cortez. So thank you for all that you do. Even though you're doing what you're doing, you're still keeping others in consideration, and that's very commendable. So thank you for all of that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you understanding. And see, you're a doggy granddad now, right?
So he's gonna snitch like that, right? So yes, when I got back from DC, I found out that my dog had twins. I didn't know the dogs could just have 2, and then I have another dog that's pregnant, and so I have 3 dogs, 1 male, 2 females. So hey, him and his both girlfriends got him pregnant at the same time. So yes, I'm a grandfather now. I'm kind of proud, and they cry in the middle of the night. They keep me up. I'm sorry for the disturbance right now. The mother is barking in the background. I've been putting my phone on mute, yelling, "Shut up, be quiet, please. I'm busy. I'll be there in a second."
Pets to go, baby. Pets to go. They know
Pets
what
to
I'm in the
go.
building.
She would not let me be great. So no, it's awesome. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Benson has joined us. This is the right-hand man with the plan. He is actually the president of the Culture Commission, and he's a legal scholar that helps out. And so you guys will be talking in private offline very shortly. But real quick, Mr. Benson, if you want to add something that we want to get to, and Miss Cortez can share her experience from the CBC, and we want to talk about this great week that just passes. But what you got to add on this particular subject?
Yeah, hey, how y'all doing? Yeah, I was listening offline and kind of backstage, but I was like, because I had to run and bail somebody out. Um, but when it comes to law, I just that's the reason why I learned, because so many people are helpless, and even when they start to be able to help themselves, right, throughout the process, the words in law seem like they're gonna work. You see these principles in the book, and they seem like but they're attached to case law that have veered it one way or the other, right? So if you don't get it exactly right, or if you're kind of all over the place with the writ, I had to go over one today. The entire appeal that he filed was against the judge and prosecutorial misconduct and all those other things, right? But that muddies the water. That lets them know, oh, they don't know the process, you know, like they don't know the game, right? And that appeal goes to the only person or the only court, the higher court, that can check the lower court. So every time they render a judgment, that is not the end of the world. So I love when you said, I immediately appealed it. I took that judge, boom, and ran off with it. But it's so serious that you perfect that appeal. It has to be exactly the issue, or you have to see what's the best issue to bring forth, right? And you want it to be something that's constitutional. Everything is constitutional, actually. Like, this is the big thing I have to tell people. But if you don't know how to explain to the court that it's constitutional, they're not going to treat it as such because they haven't decided to in their case law. So what I do is I just help people, like, perfect, like, let's clean this up. I know you're mad, but get all of that, trying to, the investigators, the this, the that, you're bringing them into this court system. And what you need to do is properly lodge this attack so that they look up the infraction. And if the infraction is correct, they serve the checks, check that, correct it, they put it back on its previous stance, and you're good. They'll give direction to the lower court, and it's on and popping, right? But when you're spurious and you're kind of meandering, if you get off a topic, if you think you can bring in multiple errors on one error and you don't perfect the error and the relief to that error, right? You don't get the relief. And you already know everything you said was correct. As far as I have to do orientations with everybody that I deal with and explain to them that, yes, these people are not like they're the most not grown-ups that you'll ever deal with. These people are they'll as long as they can hide their hand, as long as they can do a little less work and they're trying to go to lunch, right? They're going to go to lunch. So you got to understand, they have their personal thing, they have friends, and then the court is just inundated, for the most part, just flushing criminal people through there that have no idea what the world is going on with their cases as well. And even if you ask an attorney, and that's not that attorney's forte, expertise, passion, anything like that, they'll know some rudimentary stuff because they know law, but they're not going to deep dive. They're definitely not going to teach you law because you're not smart enough for law school. They're going to exude confidence, and they're going to say, I either got this or I don't.
President Benson, we had a few comments in the chat. Someone said, "I love Brother Yusuf. He's like Black Matlock."
Yes, he
Um,
is.
uh, you are like Black Matlock, brother.
Hey,
Um,
hey, we need one. We need a guy. We need a guy. So and look, my issue is I went looking for the guy, right?
right,
and,
right,
and that was not a guy. So I had to become the guy
And
because
let
right,
me
right.
yeah.
and let me say this about brother Yusuf, man. I get on his nerves probably. But he never blinks and never let me know. But I could feel it sometimes. I hit this man with a new case, a new situation every single day, and he just takes it in stride. Like, okay, do this. Da, da. He's right on it. 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know how he do it. He keeps me in line. So, brother, I thank you for all that you do. And to kind of elaborate on what you're saying, it's important. Because we brushed over it. Taking Miss Cortez's prowess and all the things she's done, and what you just said, the majority, 99.8% of people just get so discouraged. And so you got to get an attorney. Some can't afford an attorney. But the caveat is that, like Ms. Cortez, she's going against attorneys. She's going against legal scholars and people that know the law and getting messed over. That's not discouraging to say anything about attorneys, right? Not saying that at all. But there's so much that you may feel that you can't do or you shouldn't do on your own. And I'm not encouraging that per se. But at the basis, research, invest the time, know what you're talking about, know what you're doing, because a lot of times our emotions prevail. And what we're arguing and talking about is why we lose these cases. And that's what they're banking on, because you're taking an appeal and you're adding new things that you didn't go or mention in the lower court. And so now it's automatically dismissed with prejudice, so on and so forth. So you want to make sure all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted straight on the onset. And so to the question, how you can get involved with the Culture Commission is go to theculturecommission.org, sign up on our subscriber list of volunteers, get engaged, get involved, become a volunteer. We need freedom fighters all across this country as we're extending the cases that we represent on advocacy. And then as Ms. Cortez is at pets, the number 2, go.com. Is that correct?
.pet.
.pet. So pets2go.pet. Donate, get involved, but also most importantly, spread the word, spread the mission. Take this this viewership, for instance, and just keep on spreading. She is a woman of many talents. If you guys don't know who she is, and if I may, she is on skits and partners with the infamous Mr. Country Wayne on social media. She is a mother. She is a force to be reckoned with. It's like the social media dynasty. It's a soap opera. I love it. I watched one episode and couldn't stop. And her character is immaculate. And that's a profile platform that has over 10 million viewers, a strong international flex. And so you're dealing with someone that's put on a good face and entertaining all of us, that's fighting for the homeless and veterans and fighting for the pets and the voiceless, and still enduring her own. And so sometimes we got to reciprocate that support and give back to it. And so thank you both for all of that. I kind of want to segue real quick, a couple of minutes left, and let's talk about CBC, if we can, Dr. Johnson and Ms. Cortez. You want to share your experience about this week in Washington, D.C. for the annual Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, or the what they call it, the ALC, if you will.
Should I go first?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, how about that? So I think the experience was amazing. Let me just say that. I don't think that I understood the magnitude of what I was going to be introduced to. This was my first Black Caucus attending. And I came up to DC and met with the SCLC president, DeMarc Liggins, along with Charles, who happens to be his Charles Brooks, who happens to be his general counsel for the SCLC. And so they're aware of my situation here in Clayton County. And I said, well, listen, I want to come up and I need to meet, people who can help me to meet undersecretaries and people within, that space that can really go to bat for veterans. Right. And so when I got there, I was just like, okay, cool. I got to hear the Divine Nine and they were talking, and then we ate, and I was like, okay, now what? Next thing I know, that night just went by like this, but it was so much that I could have done, but it was only so much time. I was like, oh my God. So then I did get an opportunity to sit in with the physic panel, which was amazing, which is where I ran into Mr. Slater again. And what a fantastic outcome for me, because I was able to meet Congressman Jonathan Jackson, the Honorable Reverend Jesse Jackson's son, who said, hey, call me, I want to help you. So you know what I mean? So it's been amazing. I think next year I'll come and I'll stay longer.
No, absolutely. I'm sorry. It was great for me, yourself and Dr. Johnson and Ms. Cortez. This was my first time at the CDC, and all that is meant for. And I'll be honest, I was a little apprehensive because given the current security of our nation and what's happening in DC, it didn't seem very smart for all of the African-American Black Democrats to go to DC when tanks are on the lawn of the White House and Capitol building, and they're already trying to gerrymander to get us out of our districts. And Lord knows what could happen if you want to take the Democrats out, especially the black ones, why are we all going to one place? But by the grace of God, we were protected. And actually, I didn't see a lot of National Guards and things like that. So kudos to DC, kudos to the foundation for putting on a successful event. However, it was a great panel. I got off the plane and went straight to this panel that was talking about Black wealth generation. Just the most eye-opening facts that if you guys were able to witness what we were a part of, we was taking screenshots and getting these slides, and those slides are coming to me. What I want to share with everyone that tunes in. There's a reckoning and awakening that we as a people need to pay attention to. This is not a game. This is not a test. We are in trouble. It is my personal belief that this could very, very well be the last Democratic election for a long time if we don't get this right. I've stated before on this show and others that all signs are indicating that something is on the horizon to where the elections will be suspended, the presidential 2028. We just witnessed where in a meeting with Hakeem Jeffries, the Speaker of the House, and both parties to avoid this government shutdown that we're now in, the president thought it was funny to put these Trump 2028 hats on the desk. You've heard it from me several times when I said that we've known that certain donors were getting them in the mail previously. The SCLC and some partnering organizations, and all of us, and I'll say this very specifically, we need to do more. You know, galas, cute, parties, fun, get it. We're not popping bottles of champagne. We haven't won a victory. There's something looming on the horizon. And the most important thing that we need to do is to get on all platforms, every medium, everything that we do, and need to communicate to the people. As easy as it is for us to ask for dollars and donations and ask for money without a message, or ask for a vote without a vision, we need to get on here and educate so people can have equity in what's coming. So although I had a good time, my heart was just heavy in listening not only to the great ideas that we're having from a Congressional Black Caucus standpoint, but I'll be very transparent also what was amiss in a lot of the conversations, and we have to do more. So if I may personally say that today, previously to this call, we have joined with some other sitting representatives, including Representative Jonathan Jackson out of Chicago, and we're getting some more. We'll be on this network on Friday for an emergency State of the Union StreamYard, where we're breaking down the government shutdown. But we're calling specifically the Congressional Black Caucus and the Hispanic Caucus to stand strong and by any means necessary, hold the line and shut the government down. And let me be clear, I'm not saying that I'm an advocate to not get people paid. I'm not saying I'm an advocate to not get our troops paid and so on and so forth. I'm not saying it at all. But it is apparent and clear that this administration and this Congress wants to get rid of Obamacare. They want to gut civil rights. They want to do a whole lot. And so it doesn't make sense for us to fund a government that is hell bent on destroying our communities. And so the things that we're negotiating for, healthcare is fine, Medicaid, Social Security, all those are great for all Americans. But now is the time to talk about Black America unapologetically. And so civil rights, voting rights need to be on the negotiating table. The detention and the killings and people, Hispanics are dying in ICE detentions. That attack and assault needs to be on the table. Voting and voices and disenfranchise of our women, minorities, and businesses and veterans needs to be on the table. This is all or nothing. And so now's not the time to play games and jump behind a pulpit and play punditry and protest and do all of this. Oh, it's the Republican fault. To hell with that. Now is the time to say, okay, let's play game. Let's renegotiate the terms of agreement as a businessman, not being lawyerly and a lawyer and play these games, but as a businessman, get at the table. Everything needs to be on the negotiating table to fund this government. If a government don't work for all, it shall not work for none. And that needs to be the posture that we need to stand up and take. So we're going to call these congressional Black Caucus members up to the mat on it. There's 60 of them. This is the highest minority Congressional Black Caucus membership that we've had in Congress in history. And if these laws come to fruition, like the case out of Louisiana is going before the Supreme Court, that's pretty much going to green light the redistricting, 40 seats of the CBC membership will be eradicated and it'll go down to 20. What the hell are you fighting for? So we need to fight for true change and policy changes that really affect, and I think this is the leveraging tool that we have, form breaks and running from it and disappearing. Those games, political games, is over with. If the government don't work for all, it shall not work at all. Period. And so that may not be popular to some, and sometimes the most adventurous things and the right thing is those that is what's not. It's not what's popular. And so the medicine that the body need doesn't never taste good. And so that's what we're standing on, and we're going to stand on business. So CDC was a great, it was very eye-opening. Hopefully we have one next year, and we will. The Culture Commission will be throwing a party, our own event and gala there. But we got a lot of work to do from now until election next year. So all in all, it was great, fellas. I had a good time.
So, Chairman, let me ask you this. One of the things that came out of the CBC this year
Yes.
was that a response to Project 2025, because that dismantling that you talk about of
Mhm.
healthcare, of the Civil Rights Act, all of that has been laid out in Project 2025. How important do you think it is, one, for the CBC to follow through on their promise to fight these aspects of the Project 2025? And then two, how important will it be for organizations like the Culture Committee to assist in that in grassroots levels?
It's time to tap out and get some new fighters in, man. We got some
Right.
fighters that's sitting in there that's using those guns where you put the gunpowder in the muzzle and shove the bullet down, and they trying to fight against. Listen, those weapons are for the Civil War. We need to update our weapon system and get some new legs in there, some fresh legs, and some new leadership. The old stale politics is just it's not, we're getting our ass kicked left and right, respectfully.
Right.
And so it's important that if you don't pass the torch, the flame will go out. And so we need to get some new leadership into play right now. And so it's important with the Project 2025 because they're telling us what they're going to do. When the president puts a hat in your face to tell you Trump 2028, that's nothing to laugh about. How many
Right.
times they're going to tell us what to do before we wake the hell up? Mitch McConnell has been laying the groundwork in our judicial system for over 15 years. He's been filling the court system. They've been changing your school districts. They've been changing the local governments in more conservative and more to the right before they came with the presidency. We as a Democratic Party only look at who's president, who's the rock star, who's having a rally and having Megan Thee Stallion. To hell with all that. We need to do grassroots and really pay attention to what's going on because we're losing. And guess what? We're going to lose bigly in this next election. So 2025, 2013, the Voting Rights Act was pretty gutted. But guess what? The Democrats had a chance. The CBC and them, they had a chance to reinstate those provisions that was gutted away, and they did not. Let me be clear. This redistricting that we're all hollering about, that we're talking about, there was an opportunity when the Democrats had the House, they had the Senate and the presidency under Obama to where when the Supreme Court said that the Congress must change the law to effectively change redistricting, the Democrats did not do that. And so here we are now. And so I am a Democrat, make no mistake about it. But I am also a man of integrity and accountability. And until we clean out our own house and hold ourselves accountable, the people are tired of the games and being lied to and this pussyfooting around and these half lackluster fights and talking about we're fighting, 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 but we're not winning a damn thing. The people deserve to start winning. And so Project 2025 is of the past. Project 2026, which the Culture Commission is leading on, is really putting a fight back. We're going to look at these races. We're going to take the fight to them. We're not going to react. We're going to be proactive. So every single race that exists that is up for grabs, we need to look at all candidates. We need to train them, get behind in their messaging. We need to put them in the race and give them support and make sure that we flip these maps back. I'm not afraid of a ghost. I don't care how you red line, redistrict. Just because someone's Hispanic don't mean they're going to vote Republicans. Just because somebody is white don't mean they're going to vote Republicans. Just because somebody black don't mean they're going to vote Democrat. We've been told to think that's how politics work, and that's a damn lie.
And
Politics should work off of a plan.
Chairman, I'm glad that you brought up
Yes,
that point, because there's an article, I believe, in the Texas Tribune, and
yes.
it talks about the redistricting, the lawsuit that has now been filed by, I believe, LULAC and other organizations against the redistricting. And part of their argument is that the redistricting map, to your point, was absolutely racial, and what they were and what Republicans were banking on, and what they're banking on is a low voter turnout in our communities, right? And so all of this has been outlined in this new lawsuit, to your point, and it's the work that's being done, at the Culture Commission and organizations like it, that's going to make a difference in terms of that multi-congressional plan that you talk about. Um, in your time at the CBC, Chairman, can you talk about the the spirit of the event, that the atmosphere? I mean, was there an atmosphere of optimism? Of course, we know that you were able to connect with persons like Miss Cortez and others. But is there a general optimism, in your opinion, amongst those who are having to continue the fight, especially the younger generation?
Great question. For one, yes. But that's what black people do. Since we was
Right.
just slaves, man, no matter, we gonna find boots on the ground, we gonna find a way to party. And we had a good time. And we needed that. We needed a good time. What I also noticed though, however, is that overwhelmingly, maybe in the 80 percentile, that a lot of the constituents of people there was under the age of 60, and a lot younger, your 20s, your 30s, you had some Gen Zers, you had a lot of millennials there. And so my thing is, where is the gap? Who's filling the gap and the transition? Who's filling that younger generation in? They're here. You can't say that young people don't vote. That's all I saw at CBC. And then our elders came in, but yet the average age in Congress is 78 years old. That's a
Wow.
problem.
Wow.
78 years old is what our representation are. And so the
So
people are there. There's no
so
connection.
Chair,
Go ahead.
Chairman, let me ask you this, because you bring up an interesting point. When you look on the Republican side, you have guys like Mitch McConnell, Chuck Grassley, and it almost appears as if age is never an issue. And then you look on the Democratic side, and you have people who are maybe in that age range, or maybe 5 or 10 years younger, and it's a major piece. In your opinion, what is the difference between the way Democrats and Republicans handle the generational passing of the torch in age?
The Republicans have always been the leader in new transition, whether it was the Tea Party, whether it was the far, whether it was MAGA.
Right.
Like them, love them, or hate them, or whatever you want to, adjective you want to put on them. But one thing I can say, and like I said it before, I'll never compliment Donald Trump except one thing: he's a great leader. Now, what he's leading, no, but he has mobilized by bypassing the establishment, the elite side of the Republicans, and went straight to a base. And by activating that base and mobilizing them, he charged them with dismantling the Republican Party, taking it over, and then he formed the establishment in his own likeness. The Democratic Party does something a little bit different. There's an elitism, there's an establishment, there's a clique vibe, and we work for common good and great values. But when it comes to the people, we keep them out of the loop. We don't mobilize the
Right.
messaging for them. We tell them what to think, how to act, and how to vote. And that is a
Right.
problem. And so
Right.
now, when it's times like right now, if you look at Harris County, our county is led by Democrats. We're $200 million in the hole. Our city
Yeah.
officials is led by Democrats. We've lost that. Our Democratic Party, when we had Kamala Harris and raised a crazy amount of donation, we still lost 10 judicial seats, and we
Mhm.
lost seats, and we lost inroads. What the hell is it going to take? So it
Yeah.
tells you it's not the party or the values, it's those that's represented. People want relatable representation, and you're seeing that on the Republican side. Yes, they're far right. They're talking about people eating kids and people eating aid from aliens and the most crazy conspiracy theory and racism, because Donald Trump is just a symptom of what his people been wanting to say. This is Jim Crow
Right.
2.0, the message is off. And so we as a party have to do something, man. We have to fight, man. We have
Barack,
Jasmine Crockett's and too many women that's fight. It's not enough black men, black Democrats that's fighting. Yes, I see Mr. Jonathan Jackson. I see some
Rob,
others. Yes,
Rob, that's the issue. Even when you talk about leadership, he knows how to delegate. Our
yes.
talented people take the front and kind of close everybody out. Their
Hmm.
talented people call on entire society, the Federalist Society, the Heritage
Yes,
community, right? All of the youth, whether it be Charlie and his whole following, right? They know how to delegate to these people, and then they get the masses involved. They
yes.
create the channeling, the wording, like however it has to be navigated, and they keep them involved. And in that way, they win. We kind of close off. We isolate, you know, and we'll pick a team, but we can't let you outshine us,
Mm.
right? So even
Yes.
even now, while he's in the White House, he's literally not doing any of the work. He's hiring loyal. He's trying to make sure his people are loyal and effective to their mission. They don't have. They don't even have to know how to be able to spell. Okay, they have to be able to be loyal and effective to the mission, right?
And then
As they're trying.
let me add to that too. And this is very sensitive, and I hope we have mature adults understand what I'm saying because this is not meant to be misogynistic. Let me be clear. This is not meant to separate genders, role, not the tradition, nothing like that. The Republican side also beats the Democratic side in family structure and identity by subliminal optics. And let me say what I mean. There's more Republican men fighting the front. On the Democratic side, it's mostly, if not damn near all women fighting the front. And subconsciously, when you have men, typically the wife and the kids is going to follow. On the
Right.
Democratic side, the structure of family is broken. We have Jasmine Crockett up there fighting for herself, even AOC, so on and so forth. Where's the men? But guess what? Democratic men on Facebook telling you who to vote for. Black men got an opinion
Well,
all damn day long. Our black churches, they may stand up, and then they don't want, these frats, these kappas, all my noops and the alphas, they don't want to lose their status and they can't endorse and support when the Republican side said to hell with a C3 status. They don't care. They're supported. They're going to do. Turning Point was a nonprofit with Charlie Kirk. And we knew where the hell
yeah.
he stood at all time. And he still made money with it. Stop
And
using excuses not to stand up.
yeah. And Chairman, thank you for that because um I was talking with a pastor friend of mine today,
Mhm,
and I told him that there's a book by a gentleman named Mark Knoll, and the name of the book is The Civil War is a Theological Crisis.
mhm,
And what I told my friend is that what we're seeing today in terms of how democracy is being handled, uh, especially through Christian nationalism, is a theological crisis. And you have some in the black church and from the black pulpit who speak out on these things. Dr. John Howard Wesley, Dr. Barber, Charlie Dates, Freddie Haynes, and Dallas, but they are too far and few in between. And mind you, this is a theological crisis. Charlie Kirk started as an evangelical who was spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. It then morphed into Christian nationalism. And so there is nothing Christian about Christian nationalism. I'm qualified to say that on multiple fronts, but I'm qualified academically because I have my associate's, bachelor's, and master's degree in theology, master's of Christian education, with an emphasis in biblical Hebrew and Greek. And so Christian nationalism was nowhere in there. You did, and so this is an Americanized Christianity that we're dealing with that believes it has a mandate and a right to this country that's rooted in a misapplication of scripture, and it has to be communicated that way from the black pulpit, because all of this stuff is undergirded, man, by a theological crisis, man, in this country. And I read an article in the Houston Chronicle where some of our pastors are alabaster pastors, not all of them, but one is calling for politics now to be preached from the pulpit. I mean, they've been, that's nothing new, but it is just blatant and in the open now. And so, to
mm,
your point, there is a burden I believe God is putting on the church in general, but in particular, man, the black church, to be the shining example that it once was, but in a different iteration.
mhm,
The problem is to your point, man. Um, we believe that because we don't have to be segregated and aren't forced to eat at a lunch counter, that we're free.
mm. Yeah. And
Minister,
I want
And we're still an
minister,
to,
enslaved people. We're
minister,
still
you
in this.
remember? you remember just like what you said about the Greek, right? You remember like when Rome wanted to take over, they got into the same when you talk about Christian nationalism, when you talk about government and religion, like that was church and state, right? And they were at war. They were at war with the Jews. They were at war with everybody that had an ideal that was different from theirs.
Right.
Even when they switched from their polytheism, right? They were at war with everybody then because it was all about money and power. So you can clearly denote like what's the mission, like what's the plan and the play. My dad would always be like, follow the money, right? If these people are after power and money, people are like, what do you think it's all about? It's about power and money. And your side is about winning souls, hearts, and minds and
What
doing the right thing, right?
what
So
what what,
that's the
what
battle. So yeah,
will
you're
you
correct. It's a battle.
so you're right, Chairman Yusuf. But what I'm saying is that yes, it is about power and money and greed and avarice. And all of those things is called sin. And
Mhm.
so it has to be called what it is because it's sin. You should not
Bingo.
clothe your nationalistic, imperialistic beliefs in scripture and then
Mhm.
say, thus saith the Lord. And
Right.
the problem and the problem that we're having with some of our white counterparts is that for them it's about DEI, but they don't understand that for God it's about the Imago Dei.
Mhm.
I want
Let me
you.
let
I
me
want you
let
to.
me let
I
me
want
let
you
me
to
let me
pull up.
explain let me explain what I'm saying to you about that. In Genesis 1 verses 26 through 27, he says, let us make man in our own image. Everyone is a creation of God, which means they have certain attributes and they are entitled to inalienable rights in terms of quality of life. The reason why DEI is so egregious is because it's continuing to build on a system that is determined to deny people access to a quality of life that God himself says that every creation of his is entitled to. So it's not DEI, it's they. They are against the
Right.
imago Dei of people.
Mhm.
And that has to be communicated because to Brother Yusuf's point, it's the money and the power, but they will continue to play the moral high ground game
Mhm.
when actuality nothing they're doing even falls within a sphere
Right.
of morality.
And Dr. Johnson, if I may, let me say this on this note. Let's get Miss Cortez in this and kind of wrap it up. I see the producers giving us a flag on the back end. To both of
Oh,
you
I'm sorry,
guys
Tracy. My bad, Tracy.
on us, to both of you guys on point, if I may, as a faith-based candidate, I want to take us back to, and this is why I don't even pay attention to these suckers for the most part. We
Right.
are in a spiritual warfare. It's a different type of realm. And some of the people that I've went to school with are so far gone. No matter what you say, the tongue is not going to. They're just spiritually. They're just. It's a so different thing. And so even when we look at the conviction of God in Genesis, He spoke to Adam first about what the
Correct.
consequences was. Then He spoke to Eve. Then He
Correct.
spoke to the serpent. He spoke to who those was important, and he spoke to that sucker last. And so we're paying attention to the serpent when we should be talking to the people of the error of their ways. And so in today's time, when we talk about the adversary, yes, there are laws. And I saw Brother Yusuf just put in this. Even in slavery, the Bible was used incorrectly to justify the abuse, to justify the conquering, to justify slavery. But it was we as a people, Israelites, Kenyans, however you want to put it, that understood the true interpretation of that word. And lastly, shall I say,
Absolutely.
is that even when the serpent was slithering to Eve, what he say? Surely God did not mean X, Y, Z. He took God's
Right.
word and gave an alternative fact to God's creation and created that sin. And so even now, that same serpent is taking law and taking religion and Christianity or the spirit and the true essence of it to say Truly, the white man is 100% whole, while the black man is only a fifth. Truly,
Right.
this evil. And so they have disenfranchised and marginalized Muslims as terrorists. So they cannot come to the aid of Black American Christians. They have separated us so much. So even now, our Islamic communities should stand up. Our Catholic community should stand up. All religions and all faith-based and preachers should stand up. But we have even our Black preachers selling us out for money behind the scenes in the corporates in the name of God. So that serpent is not in just the white folk, it's even worse and treacherous within the Black folks and some of our leaders. So we got to
So
pray it all out and we'll be good.
so Chairman, I
Yes.
want to thank you for that, and I want to go back to something that you talked about when you talked about family structure and dynamics,
Yes. Mhm.
because um, there have been, to your point, intentional identity politics played by the Democratic Party, in my opinion, that have been divisive in multiple ways. I'll give you an example of that. Vice President Kamala Harris running, we supported her. She was the better candidate, no question about it. But when you put out advertising that says the Democratic Party is the party of black women and never mention black men, that's divisive, in my opinion. Um, the Democratic Party should be the party of all people. And so lending itself to the identity politics, in my opinion, has played into what you were talking about in terms of the
Trap.
well, quite well, not just the trap, but the ignoring of the black family,
I,
because people
I,
are under because people believe that the black family does not exist, when in actuality it does exist.
But you remember, Minister, the trap has always been division. It's had different
Correct.
names, divide the
Correct.
family, divide the religion, divide the cultures, like whatever we can so they don't join together. That would even poor whites on the black side, right? During those early wars in the country, helping them establish themselves. So yeah, like the trap has always been division, and then it's had different names. But go ahead, Mr. I don't
Well,
want.
no,
But
well,
but 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 but, but let me ask you this, if our real man, and we got to wrap it up. They hitting us highlight, but I want to bring Miss Cortez in this. To Dr. Johnson, to your point, because I think you're right, but I think there's a little bit of something else that goes with it. We must not forget there was some mistakes made in the vice president's campaign. There was totally missed shot. I mean, all over, so much that's wrong. And I'm even against her now, want to kiss and tell with this book like it wasn't her fault to blame things on Biden. You should have
that
said it
is a
then.
that
I'm not
chairman,
yet. I'm
you're
not with
right.
it. I'm not with it. I'm not with it.
That's a miscalculation on her
It's a
part. And
miscalculation. Yes. So,
yes,
but my point is, to your point of the party of women or black women is divisive. But however, we must hold ourselves accountable that 17% of black men left and voted for Trump over this black woman because they just couldn't bring themselves to vote for a woman.
but
We
see,
must understand. Wait, hold on. Let me finish a second. Now, whether it's politics or whatever the case may be, I know men for a sec. I know a white racist man that told me that he'll vote for a black man before he vote for a white woman against Hillary. It's a
right,
thing. And so
right,
my
it
point is
is.
that that was a mistake with the Democratic Party. But it goes back to what I said earlier. We as black men or black Democrats, where are we in the fight in a non-election period? Where are we on principles? Where are we standing up? Right now, we see crime at an all-time high. We have
Right,
enough black men out here to be mentors to our children. We got enough black men out here to open doors up for them. Chivalry isn't dead. We're not teaching our sisters. We're not protecting them. And we could go back and forth on the women and and all that. At the end of the day, a man is a man. A woman is not going to dictate my manhood and how I respond to that woman. Stand the hell
right,
up. Take control of your family. Take control of our culture. Let's be men. And it's a lot of stuff that we have to address ourselves to lay down on what a black man is supposed to be. And then they will not, they could disrespect us. They used to attack us and leave our women alone. They don't even
right.
respect us enough to where they're disenfranchising and breaking our black women down. At the Republican National Convention last year, some racist asshole got on stage on national TV and called Kamala Harris the colored girl. Not one black man stood up, elected official, and defended and called that out. Not one. Hakeem Jeffries and nobody else. Shame on him and shame on everybody else that stands solid. It's hard, man. We as black men need to stand the hell up and defend our family structure and our culture, and it starts with us. And that's just, we just got
Well,
to do more, brother. We
yeah,
got to do more.
and Chairman, I agree with you. More brothers should have stood up. I just feel like shame on Doug, right? I mean,
Fair
Doug,
enough.
Doug, Doug is her Doug is her husband, right? So if Doug's not standing up, that's really problematic. And I think it speaks
That
to,
is, that's a
and I
good one.
and well, it's true, right? I mean,
It's, yeah.
and so you know, I want to
Rep,
get to your point about the 15 to 17% clip of black men between the ages of, I believe, 18 to 34, 18 to 40 that went for President Trump. Um, we must be honest that some of that, perhaps a great deal of that, may have been rooted in misogyny, right?
yes.
But what I have found in talking with some of these brothers anecdotally is that there is a wide worldview and palette, man, that black men have in terms of politics and geopolitical affairs and interests that, quite frankly, most folks never even engage them on, because they don't even think, excuse my French, that a nigga's even thinking about stuff like that. So when I'm talking to brothers and they're saying, hey man, they're more conservative leaning, they're talking about the borders, they're talking about the morality piece, they're talking about bathrooms and this and that. Man, these are cats who, quite frankly, man, we don't, and I'm not making this a black thing, but these are issues, man, that some of our candidates and some of our elected doesn't even speak to, right? And so that's a real thing, right? We're not a monolith, right? Just because you're Democrat, Chairman Slater, doesn't mean you're a liberal, right?
Right.
I mean,
So let me ask you this. I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to add on to what you're saying. Let's also add that the Republicans and Democrats did a good job of making black men think that Kamala Harris was locking up black men in California.
they
I'm
did,
speaking on behalf of people with felonies and criminal records.
they did,
If that ain't if that is not the loudest bullshit I ever heard in my life. We are grown men. We don't have to have mama issues. Can't no grown woman put you in jail, whatever the case. Because guess what? She was protecting the victim. Somebody had to
right,
be protected.
Hey,
And so
Rob,
we
not only
it,
not only that, I had to literally, okay, so education is a whole thing too, because if we don't tell them what's covered on the state level and the US level, they were scaring them with things that they have to handle on the state level, or Medicare or Medicaid had to handle. You know what I'm saying? That wouldn't even clear a claim, right? But even when you talk about whether she locked people up, she kept more people from being locked up when she was in power. She was actually one of the first people to do when we talk about post-conviction programs, and like put
right.
the
But
programs
is it
together
is it
herself to
but
divert
is
them and get them jobs.
but is it a bad thing at some points in life to put principle above policy? And what I mean by that is because the Republicans do it. They don't give a damn what Charlie Kirk said. He was one of theirs. In the military, no man left behind. If
right,
this woman was to break a glass ceiling because she meant so much more to millions of other black girls out there, is that could not have been more important? Because the adverse effect, what we're doing now our black women are getting attacked left and right. Could we have
right.
just put that aside to say what that presidency have meant to so many more? It's not necessarily about, we critiqued her and broke her down and held to a higher standard that we justify what we do for this orange sucker that's in office right now, or so many of our other leaders. We're self-inflicting so much. And now
Yeah,
our daughters, my daughter, don't know who their role model is going to be. Cardi B and Nicki Minaj, who's calling each other kids monkeys right now on social media.
Mhm.
It's so much damage that we're doing. And sometimes the principle has to be
yeah.
more in that moment than the policy. So
Bingo.
yes, she
And,
she,
and,
she was
and,
culturally disconnected. She
and
married Doug. I get it, but
well, Chairman,
it's the
this
past.
this so this election this election,
Yeah,
unfortunately, was a sad indictment on America as a whole.
agreed.
We
I
are
think
we are still dealing with the white lash of Obama. We are still we are now dealing. You know, when you look at how some of our Hispanic counterparts voted in the national election, they leaned more toward Mr. Trump. White women leaned toward more Mr. Trump. I mean, it wasn't just, you know, if 100% of black folks had voted for her, she still would have lost in a landslide because he picked up with demographics that he didn't with Mr. Biden. And to your
I
point,
don't know. You still
I
got
think
cases. You still got cases.
you
Like
say he
so
still
many
has.
people have just kind of felt like, okay, if we would have did this, if we would have did that, right? It's so much so that like we're so all we got to do is get all the parts right and we win, that we forgot that they cheat.
Yeah, well, that's not my
Like, and we
that's
watching
not
them and we watching them do all of this cheat. Like he's got a 2028 hat on the table. This is
right.
my biggest problem with us. He got 2028 hat on the table and plans to steal the election. So he don't plan to run in 2028, but he'll show the cap to mess with these people because they
Right.
still y'all are so good and wonderful. I mean, we love y'all. Y'all are so good and wonderful. They still think it's a regular fight.
Right. Well,
I mean, slap them
brother,
again.
brother, I agree with you. I guess what I'm, you know, what I'm trying to communicate in my contention is that what we're seeing from from this administration, to your point, it is a part of a larger global movement, a larger populist conservative movement that 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 already decided at the Devos who they were going to support in which election across the globe, right? And so all of this is again a backlash, a global backlash against people of color and leaders of color, right?
But
Um,
I want us to do what Rob was saying, right? We not only got to get new leadership in there, we got to
Absolutely,
understand that we're leaders right now.
yes,
Because if
yes,
not, the distractions, right? Like they're doing the gerrymandered map, right?
right, right,
If that's the cap, it's still the cap because if I don't care about another election, why do I care about maps?
right.
You see what I'm saying?
I
So
feel
that's what
you,
I'm saying.
bro.
Like there's so
I
many
feel you.
distractions that we're not understanding. Like that we need
The
to fight on
man,
a whole nother kilter. And if we don't get
Yeah,
young people in there, we're not fighting this fight. If we don't get all our different brains into that foray, if we don't understand who
get
we
him,
are,
get him in there, educate, and listen. Figure out how do we master code words. The man just stood on stage in front of generals and used the N word. Literally on national TV said, "There's an N word that I can't use. It's called nuclear. It's really two N words, and we can't use them. Not that you shouldn't use them, but you can't. That's dog
right,
whistle words to the races that the people that use them at their dinner table every damn
he
day.
say I'm gonna play with the whole thing.
I'm meant to play with you. That
I'm
went
gonna play
over
with the
our
whole thing.
heads.
yeah.
That
It
went
did. It
over our
did.
heads. The Wesley
Yes.
Scotts, the Tim Scotts, and all these
Hey,
Holly
he
Bob
say,
bean
hey,
counting suckers.
when it's all said and done, I'm gonna be rich. Y'all are gonna fix it because y'all
Listen,
like fixing stuff. I'll
Yeah.
be
listen,
protected in my whole status and
listen.
space and all my friends or whatever, as long as I keep them clean.
I
Just
said
them.
this, brothers, and then let's bring in Miss Cortez and wrap it up.
Come
But
on,
I'll
Miss
say this.
Cortez.
I'll say this again, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here. Mark it down. This president is going to start a war, a manufactured war, or a self-inflicted civil war. One of the statements that he made to these generals to use American cities as training grounds. The first president to put and encourage military to come into the cities. You called the generals as a litmus test, a loyalty test, to show them that you can do whatever you want to. You're going to be loyal to us when the time comes. Because it's a loophole in the Constitution that says that the election process can be suspended, even indefinitely, if the United States is in war, even if it's in a civil war. So whoever shot Charlie Kirk, guess what? Black folk got blamed for it. HBCUs got blamed for it. Trans, whomever. Everything is manufactured. And if we don't pay attention and start getting up and teaching our people how to farm, how to survive, how to fish, how to properly train and use weapons of self-defense and how to fight, but also how to get in the political process and to vote and to educate yourself and engage leaders that know how to fight, they're just not going to do protests and posturing and pandering, we are going to lose. And so with that, I want to say you heard it here first, but I want to bring Ms. Cortez in to see what have you say on these issues.
Wow and wow. Ooh, well, you know, I'm a proponent of having weapons. I do have my weapons license, and I am. I believe that's important. I think it's important to also teach our children how to drive before they're 16, right? Like it's important to teach our youth what needs to happen, and it starts within our own homes, right? Our homes are our first ministry. I think some of these issues are tales as old as time, right? But what we can do for ourselves, one, is seek the Lord. I think that's the first. When I come into many circles, I don't even hear that, right? Like seek the Lord on what we should be doing. What is the strategy? And let the Holy Spirit begin to move us in the direction that we need to go, because there's always a strategy, right? But if we're gonna shoot from the hip for ourselves, then it's always, return fire with fire. I think for those of us who understand that we come from the spirit, the original man, right? Racism is really a figment of the imagination. The enemy has poisoned their minds to believe that there's a difference between one human and another, but it really is an internal spiritual issue. So I always say that I think it's super important that we continue to seek the Lord as to what it is we're supposed to be doing in this space and how we're supposed to do it. So not just that we have strategy, but we also have a tactical plan on how that rolls out. And a lot of that probably comes from the fact that I did serve some time in the military, and I saw the importance of, not just let's just have a plan. True, we're not going to be able to change the minds of people that are our skin color that choose to serve as opposition, right? But what we can do is we can stay prayed up and really ask and seek the Lord in regard to what our individual contributions are to be and what our posture is supposed to be. And with that being said, there's a gentleman by the name of Master Prophet E. Bernard Jordan. I don't know if you gentlemen are familiar with him, but he's based out of New Jersey with Zoe Ministries. And he wrote a series of books. I believe it's Forbidden Judgments. Excuse me if I've jacked up one of those words, but I believe it's Forbidden Judgments. And he wrote it in 1988. And he wrote so in depth about when the lights were going to go out in this country and curfews were going to happen. People thought he was crazy as hell. Right? Until COVID came, right? And so understanding that we are people who must, if we're going to lead, we must consult the Holy Spirit in everything that we do. And to your point, Mr. Chairman, I totally agree. Yes, DC was probably a strange place to be, understanding that so many Black people were concentrated in that one area, and it could have been an easy strike. But the Lord is good, and He's merciful, and He knows what it is that we need and how we should proceed. So as much as I would love to say, here's my stance, I'm always down to help, but I'm always seeking the Holy Spirit on how do we proceed. How do we proceed, Lord? Because we can't fight fire for fire, right? And the Lord will give us a plan. So with saying that, Mr. Chairman, I will continue to seek the Lord as to how I can best serve this organization. Because even though, yes, I do have an some outrage with what Clayton County has done, I recognize that it's my clarion call to show up to the front line to bust my gun. Right. So I have and I'm with that. I really I was very impressed with the initial conversation we had in DC, and we were right on the same, we were in the same space, same understanding, and I'm here to support. So count me in.
So thank you. Dr. Johnson, did you drop off or are you still there? I think you dropped off. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we want to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. You can check This Is America weekly, every single Wednesday on the Culture Commission Network. You could go to the StreamYard at bit.ly/TCC 3Cs Network. That's the Culture Commission. This is the Culture Network. Joining us, our most awesome guest, Miss Angelina Cortez. Check her out. What is your social media handles, Miss Cortez?
Yes.
Where can they find you?
My Instagram and Facebook is the only Angelina Cortez. So that's where you can find me.
The only Angelina Cortez. Make sure you go to pet2go.pet. Pets2go.pet. Also support the cause. Is great. We're going to help her raise this for a meal because it's definitely a great concept. We want to see how we can maybe partner, get some franchises around, get one in Houston, get you guys involved. Mr. Benson, we're going to make a connection after this to connect you two so we can see where we can support on the legal front and the advocacy and the visibility front on Mrs. Cortez cause out in Clayton County. And guys, you know what the Culture Commission do. We're here to fill the gap. We're here to lead the way. We're here with all the smoke until there's no more smoke left. There's no fire that we can extinguish. So we thank you guys. Thank you for having us. And thank you for your time. Until next time, you guys, God bless. This is America. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You guys stay on. Stay in.